How are you doing, bro? Hikaru?
T.
Yeah. So this is another episode of Will the Human Understand, where we actually are going to talk from the very basics to so we all can understand what the blockchain, the crypto, and the DeFi worlds are all about, as they will be absolutely like they will be global. They will encompass almost everything we do in life later on, right? How long? How long do you think this is going to be like everywhere?
Well, I mean, the thing is, we are in it now, and it's going to
Mm.
last for the rest of humanity as I foresee it. Hopefully, right?
Yeah. Like we talked in the last time, right? Like what blockchain is, and like how blockchain is just a series of blocks, right? That contain data, right? And that makes them like super amazing for the ledger thing, right? Like there's no need for a centralized validator, right? Someone that says, oh yeah, it's true or not true.
Exactly. Just literally a ledger book. Oftentimes more complex than that, but it removes that central intermediary, right? That has been causing all of these problems for centuries in
Yeah.
terms of trust.
Millennia. We were talking about like 8,000 years of recorded history, right? We have had that problem, and this is the amazing stuff about blockchain, that it just really, with a single idea on how to make a collective ledger, a full revolution is happening right at this instant.
Exactly, and we're just at the cusp of that revolutionary change.
Correct,
in
right?
history.
So most people don't understand blockchain, and you cannot blame them because it's something quite abstract. So it's really good to put things in terms that people, at least if they haven't seen, because there's nothing to be seen, right, really, other than numbers on the screen, they can relate to in real life. And for the last 10 years, give or take, right, we have been hearing about this Bitcoin,
Yeah.
right? So it's like a lot of people like think, what is it? Where is it? I cannot touch it, right? Like it's fantasy money. But without realizing that actually every money, right? Once we stop like using gold, silver, something that had inherent value, right? Like you actually had a coin made out of gold, right? That had obvious value, right? Once we went to for paper or any other thing, shells, whatever, everything became kind of monopoly money. What's the difference between real money and monopoly money?
Well, I mean, there is none. It's really just money is as only good if people believe that there's value behind it. That's really simply it when it
Right.
comes to the fundamentals.
You're right. And in this case, also an institution, right? A government saying this is the money that will be accepted as a way of trading in this country.
Exactly.
Right.
Oftentimes they're round, I mean, rectangular, right?
Mm.
Fancy little pieces of paper.
Exactly.
But nowadays, most people use digital money. It's just numbers on your screen.
It is only numbers on the screen, right? And so what is the difference between just numbers on the screen on your bank account, right? You check your bank, your how much money you have in your bank on your mobile. Those are numbers on the screen. And what's the difference between that and Bitcoin, which are a different kind of numbers on the screen?
Exactly. Well, to put it simply, it's really about how it works in the background process. How it's being defined in the way these numbers are actually moving behind the scenes. So that's
Okay.
really what it comes down to.
Okay.
Yeah.
So a lot of differences. One is that it's actually a blockchain. It's actually information, right? Data stored on a chain. So how can that become money?
Right. I mean, it's a good question. It really comes down to what is the value proposition behind Bitcoin itself, right? So a lot of people compare it to it being as digital gold. Okay. So then now let's look at the physical gold bar itself. Why do you think that gold is still, even to this day, valued by pretty much anyone in the world?
Yeah, every culture.
Yeah.
I know that the one physical value gold has over any other thing, at least metal, is that in 1,000 years, like if you store gold, like 1 kilogram of gold, and you store it somewhere for 1,000 years, when you come back and you get that, you weigh that bar of gold, it's going to be actually 1 kilogram. It's not going to degrade by oxidation. So I think that's the only physical thing that makes it completely different to others. I mean, you can talk about many other physical things, but that is the one thing that the
Right.
value is preserved across time because it doesn't lose its qualitative elements.
Exactly. No, you're absolutely right, human. And I think that has to do with the supply as well, or what we call scarcity. Okay.
True.
Scarcity.
True. Yeah, but that's not physical, right? So that's again something, a perception.
Well, scarcity is physical in a way as well, because there can only be so many in a given amount of space. So let's
Yeah,
say on
sure.
Earth, right? Let's just assume all of the gold is mined. Of course, there's people mining today, but it's very small amounts compared to what we already did.
Yes, true.
So when something is scarce, people are going to assign value to it because there's always going to be people who wants it.
Yeah.
And there's always going to be another person who's going to pay a higher price just to get it.
Yeah.
And then so on and so on. Right?
Yes.
So eventually you come to this equilibrium where, okay, now there's a global market price on it. But scarcity is a very, very important factor related to Bitcoin.
Yeah, but let's get back to that later because I like that, and I actually that kind of answers why Bitcoin is going to keep growing and growing and growing and growing. But I want to leave that for later because we haven't actually defined. I mean,
Well, one thing at a time
right?
for you, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and for everyone, right? Like,
Of
it's
course.
not that we are like dumb. It's just that it takes time to integrate all this. It's a whole new cosmogony, a whole new universe of concepts and very abstract concepts, right?
Exactly.
So, who invented blockchain? Bitcoin.
It's a very good question. So, the person, group of persons or entity, or even an alien, who knows?
Entity.
Right?
Yeah.
Who knows?
Actually, we don't know.
Yeah, but they are referred to as Satoshi Nakamoto
Yeah, right.
because that is the official author name of the Bitcoin white paper,
The
or
white
basically the document, right? That describes, what is it, how it works, and so on.
When was it released and where was it released, you know?
Where it was, well, you can find it online. It's in PDF. It's pretty much published.
Everywhere, right?
Yeah. In terms of when it was released, I believe it was around 2008 to 2009. Yeah. But I think most people say by 2009 it was fully out there and people really started to read it and so forth. Yeah.
Okay. But we really don't know. It's just a name, right? Like we. I don't even want to. I would like to ask like why someone wouldn't say.
Right.
Right? Like, if I were the inventor of such a thing, I would like a little bit of recognition, right? Like you said last time,
Right.
probably they would get a Nobel Prize of, I don't know, economics or what would it be. But, okay, so we really don't know, but the paper just comes out of somewhere around 2008
Right.
to 2009. It uses blockchain. Can you tell us, you are a man that in your professional life does a lot of use cases for companies, right? So tell me, explain to me, please, how does Bitcoin becomes a use case for blockchain?
It's actually an interesting question because Bitcoin is, again, the first example or use case of blockchain. Now, the thing is, when Satoshi, right? I'm just going to say Satoshi for this person. When he wrote about
He's a
the
Japanese,
Bitcoin...
he can do that. Just Satoshi, not Satoshi-san. Satoshi.
Satoshi.
Satoshi,
Yeah.
sorry, yeah.
Or Mr. Nakamoto.
Mr.
right?
Oh, Nakamoto-san.
Yeah. Well, anyways, when he was describing how Bitcoin worked, that actually was describing the first blockchain variant, let's say, the original kind. And later on, when the community started to talk about this more and more, somebody coined the term blockchain, and then that became the industry term. So it was actually not Satoshi who coined this term blockchain. He just kind of wrote about it. Yeah,
a
he
use
did.
case of what would later become blockchain.
Exactly. And of course, all of these smart people later on, right, now came up with new variants and applications, and it really just kickstarted a revolution. Yeah.
Okay. So someone started the first ever block of data.
Satoshi himself. Yeah.
Okay. And he described, you were talking about scarcity. So he described what? 21 million,
Bitcoins to ever exist
right?
in history.
So what would,
Yeah.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but in human language, I know
Right.
that's difficult for you, but how would that blockchain sound if you were, like just like a good machine you are, just like, okay, I'm going to translate this into human. What
Right.
would it say? What would the data read like? This is good for 1 Bitcoin out of 21 million. You understand what I'm saying? How? I
Right.
know it's not an easy question, and I'm
Right.
sorry to put you on the spot, but now that I have the chance, I think a lot of people want to ask these basic questions.
So you're saying, how does a Bitcoin look like on my phone or a
A
computer?
lot like it's data, right?
It is data, yeah.
What is the data made of? What does it say?
What does it say? So, I mean, of course, to stay on a very simple terms,
Yes, please.
it's really just data, right? And then, of course, there's lots of different applications out there that beautify the data, make it look nice. So, in terms of that, it's really no different than like, say, WeChat Pay, PayPal, how you see it, right? In the back end, they're all just bits and numbers in a digital world.
What do they describe? The
Right.
first transaction ever of a Bitcoin,
The first one.
right?
Well, it describes, of course, the date, right? The timestamp of when it
Okay.
happened.
Yeah.
Of course, who it was sent from,
Mm.
who it was sent to,
Mm.
right? The recipient, how much
Mhm.
Bitcoin, and then lots of other information like how much fees were paid and so forth.
So it was the movement of value
It
within
was-
two parties,
yes.
right? It was going somewhere. That value, that Bitcoin,
Yeah.
that transaction was going from one place to the other one. So it was described.
Yeah, I mean, in layman terms, we say, of course, it's transferring, a Bitcoin from one person to another, however that amount is. But it's actually, the Bitcoin doesn't really move in the sense of blockchain. It's just transferring the ownership.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay. So you
who
can say
owns
that the
that?
block
Yeah.
is full of data that is acknowledging, right? Or,
Who owns which Bitcoin at
Yeah.
any given time?
okay. So that is, if you read it, right?
Yeah.
You say, okay, this person bought at this time, this point 0.000001 Bitcoin,
Yeah.
blah blah blah, and so on.
Yeah.
Right?
But in the real world, it just makes so much sense to say, hey, I'm going to send you like one Bitcoin.
Yeah, sure,
Yeah.
sure. But I always wonder, like, okay, it's a block of, it's a chain of blocks. What the fuck?
Yeah,
does a
no,
block-
it's not like I'm sending you a block, right? Or
Of
you're not
course,
like
of
chaining me or
course,
anything
of
like
course.
that.
Yeah, but it's like a
Yeah.
database, right? What does it say inside? Okay, so you
Yeah.
answered my question. Now, what is mining? Because that's the
Mhm.
other normal thing that people talk about without understanding a bit.
Exactly.
What is mining?
Yeah, yeah. So in a traditional sense, where this word came from, mining, it really comes from you get a pickaxe and imagine like a hard rock and there's like gold covered inside it, and people are like mining, right? To uncover the gold. That's the analogy here. So the way Bitcoin was designed is okay. There's 21 million Bitcoins
Only.
only, but that's the maximum, up to. And the thing is, it's not all released at once.
Correct.
People have to work hard in order to mine it and release those Bitcoins over time. So it controls, I would say,
The supply?
the supply model, right? Yeah, because imagine just one day you look at the sky and a bunch of money just falls, right? What would you do? Right? Everyone would just, scour,
some.
grab it,
Yeah.
right? But if you do that, the money you own will now become worth less and less and less just because you inflated the supply.
Yeah.
Yeah, to prevent that problem, there's a mechanism so that only like a little bit of money can trickle at a time with Bitcoin. And that's correlated to how much people use the network. Obviously, the more usage there is, the more people transacting on the Bitcoin network, the more, I would say, Bitcoins would come out. That's not exactly how it is, but let's just imagine to kind of control the supply, right? Yeah.
Okay. So you talk about working hard.
Yeah.
How do they actually work on mining?
Right.
I mean, in a very basic terms. I mean, I know it's just like putting a lot of computing power, right?
Right.
To run the blocks. Is that correct?
Right. So that's another beautiful thing is there's an economic incentive behind this. In order to mine Bitcoin, you have to work hard. Well, okay, not literally like physically, but as of now, you need like lots and lots of capital resources to invest into these really powerful like computers. I'm talking like the big ones like this
Yeah,
that
yeah.
makes a lot of noise and you need a ton of like just cooling, right?
Yeah,
just for
cool.
one.
Yeah.
Now, as of 2021, just to even compete in this whole mining competition, not only do you just need one of them, you probably need like hundreds of them
Yeah.
in like a rack. So you need a whole warehouse.
Yeah.
So we're talking about like millions of dollars, at
Just
least
to
in just
mine.
capital investment, just to start, right?
Yeah. Because each time gets more difficult, right? Each time you need more computing power to mine.
Exactly. So basically, to date, the mining power, they say, which is essentially equivalent to, let's say, electricity in simple terms,
Yeah, volts.
it hasn't been just consistently going up, which is good, right? Because it The more it goes up, the more powerful the network is. And you want that in like a network like Bitcoin.
Can you tell us a little bit about the network itself?
Yeah. So the thing is,
Because there's a lot, right? I
There's
think the
a
next,
lot.
sorry to interrupt
Yeah.
it, next one we will end up, we have to talk about Ethereum. And
Oh,
then
of
there's
course.
another
Yeah.
network, right? So let's start with this network, the language, right? Like
yeah.
it's not very computable, right? Like there's the very
Yeah.
basic, right?
So let's kind of throw our minds back, right? Where we talked about how the blockchain removes the intermediary. Let's say the bank, for example.
Mm.
Well, if you remove the bank, you still need some sort of mechanism to verify and keep track of all these transactions. Otherwise, it's going to be a huge mess. Anyone can change their ledgers at any time. And it's going to be...
The records.
Yeah, it's going to be like completely useless, right?
Mm.
Confusing even more. So the question is, how can you verify and keep order in a network without relying on a central intermediary or entity, like the bank? Well, the answer is the network, right? So, it's like the one, right?
Yeah, yeah,
In
yeah,
the
yeah,
matrix. So the network is actually just a group of computers, or we call it nodes.
Notes, okay.
So these are people who mine Bitcoin in order to secure and verify these transactions. So why would they want to do that? Well, each time they successfully verify these transactions, which is actually encapsulated in a block, right?
Right, so they verified
Yeah.
that the block contains
Yeah,
the information
true
of the
records.
last block and the new one, is that right?
Absolutely, yes.
Okay, so this
Exactly.
is also very important, I believe,
Exactly.
right? Okay.
Exactly. So if they can successfully do that, then they get rewarded Bitcoin as it gets released from the total 21 million supply.
So that's mining.
That is essentially the basics of mining.
So mining is just lending shitloads of computer power to the validation of the data contained in the last two blocks, whatever those two
3,
blocks
4, 5, or whatever the number is. I think right now we're at like a couple 100,000 or something. Don't have the number. But that's why miners are always incentivized to do good things to the network,
Of
to
course, of
verify.
course.
They're
Yeah,
never
they cannot
incentivized to
cheat.
do bad. Yeah.
are. Right.
If they're incentivized to cheat, it doesn't work right. Because the thing is, there always will be cheaters.
Yeah, but there will
Yeah.
be so many others interested in validating properly the data.
Exactly, and those people get rewarded.
So they outweigh those ones that would like to cheat.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay. Wow. So how come a lot of people were asking before, like, how am I going to use this money that I cannot even touch or I cannot see? But now we are seeing adoption, which was one thing that prevented a lot of people like investing on it or having any commercial association or financial association. But now we see Tesla, we have Blackwaters, is it? The one that it's a huge fund that now actually that they invested massively, like in
Companies from pretty much every region.
Right.
China, Asia, Japan,
Yeah.
I mean, you name it, right? US,
yeah,
Europe.
yeah. So adoption has already happened. It is happening, but
It's
it'll
happening
happen,
on a much more, I would say, mainstream scale.
right?
Now your mom and dads are, starting to hear about it, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Tesla.
Yeah,
what-
yeah.
what
All
they
these
did, right? Like,
respectable companies.
yeah. So it's here to stay. So okay, last, the reason that it keeps going higher and higher and higher is because scarcity, and because there's a perceived value,
Yeah.
right? Like we have all agreed that because like it's immutable, right? Something
Right.
that like gold that doesn't change across time, right? Same.
Right.
This is data that doesn't change across time, so it gives a solidity, right? Like a validity that you're not going to be cheated. There's no way that anyone can really go back and rewrite blocks. So it's going high and higher and higher and higher, except the last couple of weeks that has been like kind of like disastrous. But I want to cry.
No comment on that.
I want to
either.
cry. But I heard that the reason that it's going to just be so like it will become valuable and more over time is that there's an endless supply of cash. Like especially now, and I think your government is doing like massively, but a lot of them are doing like printing money for like there's no backup for the money being printed.
Right.
Yet there is a finite number of bitcoins. So we have only 21 million, right? But we can print trillions of dollars, which could always come and tap on Bitcoin, right? So you have an infinite amount of money to buy a finite amount of something, Bitcoin in this case.
Exactly. So just to kind of foresee and put out my fun little projection, right? I think in the decades to come, when we buy food, your morning coffee, your favorite video game, right? Or whatever. Right now, we price everything in terms of fiat dollar value, right?
Yeah, that's just normal money, fiat.
Yeah.
Just money.
10 US dollars, 5 Chinese yuan. Yeah, 100 euros. But we will come to a point, and I really do believe this, where people start to say, okay, that's zero 0.5 Bitcoin.
You think it will happen?
I think it will happen because as soon as people realize, okay, Bitcoin has true value and people can use it as a means to transact value, it's like, why not? Right?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, of course. I think we have to cut the program today here. I think there's a lot more to talk about Bitcoin.
Yeah.
Even like you started talking about like how is it going to be used, right? And there's so much to talk, and this format just allows us to talk and expand and have fun. So, but we have to cut it today.
Exactly. I mean, as always, we just talk and talk, but we encourage everyone to what we call do your own research.
Yeah,
right?
that's for sure. Absolutely.
Yeah. Verify what we're saying, This dude might be wrong.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean,
and me too, right?
Yeah, of course,
Yeah,
of course. This is just a way to get you guys interested, to spark curiosity, maybe to give you even a stupid, simple first answer that you can go and research. This is important because no one is teaching us that, right? These kind of things are not taught in school. No one ever in the school taught you ever about how to handle money, how to make money, how to invest money. So this is your time. This is your chance. For the first time in history, you actually have a saying in your financial future, not just working, right, per hour, but actually like saving some money and actually creating money, allowing making your money work for you while you're asleep. So it's a great opportunity.
Yeah. And just one last thing is Bitcoin is not just about the tech or like the shiny little B logo, but it's all about financial literacy and financial freedom.
Financial literacy. I think we have to talk a lot about it.
We have to.
Let's try to talk more and more always based on what is good for the average human.
Financial literacy.
Financial literacy.
Yeah.
That's the difference between rich and poor, really.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much, guys, and we hope you like it. Let us know whatever. If we said something stupid, let us know. If you want us to talk, to touch in certain points more, please let us know. We are super happy to answer, comment, expand on anything you find interesting. Thank you very much, Hikaru.
Yep, and thank you to my co-host, T.
Co-host? Okay. Yeah. He doesn't know how to speak and he's a machine. Thank you, guys. Have a good one.
I'm breaking down.
Need recharging.
Yeah.